Hi everyone, my name is James Feeney. Welcome to or back to my channel. Today I wanted to come on and do a review about the Fox Universe Tarot, a self-care oracle by, oh my gosh, I should know the name. It's not on the front. Let's get into this. Okay, it's created by Taylor Hay, I believe is how it's pronounced, and I'm pretty sure that she is the author and the artist of the deck. And this is my first time doing a review, but this deck kind of struck me as one that's a little bit different and that I actually really enjoyed right off the bat, and it was a surprise for me. The artwork, as you can maybe tell, is very like geometric, and it's black and white, very minimalist and quite modern. And I don't usually go for very like modern decks. I look for things that kind of are removed from symbols that kind of connect to our daily lives here. So that was one big one, and then that sort of geometric look that's very also just modern in art style, not just the things depicted, is something else that I don't go for. But I saw this and the cards and the keywords on the cards and just the way that it was constructed, and it seemed very different, and I didn't really have any sort of like oracle or tarot deck that was specifically designed for, I would say, self-care in what I think is a very true way, not self-care as in just like pampering yourself or what is like popularly believed to be self-care, but self-care in a holistic mind, body, emotional, soul-centered way. So I decided to try it, and I am not disappointed. So spoiler, I guess, is that I really love it. So it comes in, I guess I'll get through the technical aspects first. Comes in a sturdy, hard slide box with the thumb tabs, and it's like one of those really hard ones. And it just like has the art on the front, very simple. Then there's the bottom part, which gives you a little preview to the deck, and it talks about, it's an illustrated guide for practicing radical self-care, learning to recognize signs of burnout and use some essential tools to your personal development. There are 80 cards, so there's 2 extra majors. There's one that comes before the Fool, and I'll try to find that, and then there's one that comes after. So it takes the structure of the tarot, as in like well, you can remove the extra cards, but there's the 22 majors essentially, plus the 2 extras, and then there's the 56 minors, and so there's ace through 10 or 1 through 10, and then there's the courts, but that's about where it ends. I would say that the suits are all renamed and they don't connect, and the guidebook here, which I'll talk about, it's more than a little white book. It's like a bound book, so I won't call it a little white book. It's very like well made. The pages are nice and like good quality book, and I would say that there's a lot actually in here to sort of break down. The cards are easy enough to read on their own with the keyword. The minors are pretty pippish, but there's still like something within them that kind of harkens back to whatever the keyword or meaning is. But these really delve deeper, so I would say that, especially for a deck that's diverging from the norm and creating its own system, it gives you just enough. And there's also like little introductions to each suit. I found myself in the beginning trying to correlate them to a tarot suit, like the candles to wands, and then I was like, oh no, that doesn't really work. Maybe they're more like swords. There's no use in really trying. I mean, I guess there can be, but they aren't meant to connect to any. So like the wheels are not going to connect to pentacles or coins or cups or any of that, and you will be hard pressed to try to really fit any one of the suits to one of the tarot suits. The meanings are completely different. There are like the occasional nods to say like RWS or potentially Thoth, but they're rare, and they almost seem just like coincidences, and then you might think that you're onto something, but a lot of them diverge quite far. So there's that, and so there's the introduction, which just talks about how this is used for self-care, and this came out of the artist and author's need for something like this, after having gone through struggles of her own. and there's a trigger warning. So I would say that the cards, particularly the graphics of it, aren't triggering potentially the topics. So I think it's more so the art and the subject. I mean, not the art, the subject matter, and not the art. That might be difficult for some people if you're in like a fragile place or aren't prepared for it. And she even talks about potentially just removing those cards, I believe. And the guidebook is really just meant to enhance, and then it gets right into it. So very helpful guidebook, one that you might want to actually keep in reference and use, because it gives you tips also about like where to go with these things. And so it's practical in that way. This whole deck is very practical, I would say, and I like that, or at least I am liking that right now. So here's the bottom of the box, and it's not in order, but I actually have what would be like the Zero, the Fool, right here, but I'll talk about just the cards, I guess the technical aspect of the cards. They're thick 400 GSM cards. They're matte, and they slide really well over each other. They don't stick at all, but they're not super slippery either. There's the shiny gold gilded edges, which I personally don't mind. Yeah, it doesn't bother me either way, and it's not something that I'm like super happy about, but I'm not fazed by it either. So yeah, it's a thick deck, very thick actually, with the 400 GSM, and then it's not very easy to riffle shuffle. So I'm actually someone who likes to riffle shuffle a lot of my decks for the most part. I mean, I do hand over hand, and with this one I would say you pretty much have to. I can kind of get away with it, but it's so thick and rigid that it kind of like really resists, and it makes me kind of scared that something's gonna happen and I'm gonna crease a card, or it's like really on the fence of being like, and you kind of have to exert a lot of force, and that just makes me kind of nervous. So for the most part, hand over hand. And the cardstock, to me, actually, if for anybody who has Spirit Keeper's Tarot, Annabelle's deck, it reminds me like exactly of that cardstock, although I'm pretty sure that Spirit Keeper's is 350 GSM, which makes it really easy and like perfect to riffle shuffle. Meanwhile, this one's just thicker, and that's not really as much of a possibility. But if I could compare, say, like the surface texture and everything, that's what it is. It's if you're familiar at all with that deck, but it's like super, super nice cardstock. So, and this is what the backs look like. They are not reversible, but this deck, I think it says in the description, doesn't even deal in reversals. I mean, you can use a deck however you choose, but the artist's intention is not to have reversals. So it makes sense that the backs are not that way at all, and I think that they're actually very interesting. I like them as far as backs go, for what that's worth. So getting into the cards, the majors, I would say, are fully illustrated, or more they put out a scene for us. We have the Fool, or the Zero, which is like the newborn and its growth. So all of the majors have like their own sort of title and then a keyword. And here's how like one might give a nod to, say, the traditional tarot. We have, oh wait, no, I thought it was 3. No, it's not. So actually, no, but this is one that you might associate, say, with the Empress, but yet we have it as death, family, the mother for 13. I think that the artwork is super evocative, and it gives you a lot to go on, and it's highly symbolic, not at all really meant to be taken super literally, although the keywords are super practical. So all the suits have a sort of topic to them, and I want to get that right in describing it to you. Let's see, where is that? The 4 suits are, well, wheels, spoons, candles, and diamonds, and the wheels are about development, the spoons are about energy, the candles are about burnout, and the diamonds are about self-care. And then the court cards go student, no, yeah, student, ghost, witch, and wizard. And for example, here we have like the wheels. Seven, no, is that eight? Eight. That's dreams. The Ace of Candles, the suit deals with burnout, and the Ace of Candles is burnout. And I like how all of the candles, the whole suit is about burnout, and it has a double-sided candle burning at both ends, which reminds me of like burning the wick at both ends, sort of thing, like where you burn yourself out by just going too far, too fast, too hard, that kind of thing. But as you can see, it kind of like, it almost like alludes to the idea of burnout in its symbolism, even though it's more of a lesser illustrated minor. And then here's one of the quartz. This is the Witch of Spoons, which correlates to the Queen, planning. I love the quartz. I think that the way that they're illustrated and depicted is really interesting. It is modern, but it's almost like, well, this one kind of seems almost like steampunk Victorian, yet modern at the same time. Like the Wizard of Candles, conflict. Very cool. The spider. So they're not all people either. Sometimes they're like creatures or just like different. Ghost of Spoons, so Knight of Spoons is productivity. Like the little fingers, I like that. So as far as how this deck sort of works or goes, it's really meant, I use it, I guess, more so like an oracle, just because you can't attribute traditional tarot meanings. It's not a system that's deviated from the tarot. It's completely, other than the structure, the way that it's chosen to make itself, it's pretty much divorced from any connection of meaning in the cards' meanings themselves. So it makes sense that it's called the Fox Universe Tarot, or Tarot, a self-care oracle. I think you kind of have to use it. It's balanced in that you can use it like a tarot, but you can't attribute really the tarot meanings much to any of the cards because they're just so different. So you end up using it like an oracle. I think I showed that. No, I didn't. So you end up using it like an oracle. And I think that this is like, you can really use any sort of, I guess, tarot for self-care. You can decide to, say, attribute like the Five of Wands to communication or conflict or action to be taken there. But this kind of goes a step further and consciously breaks certain things down and gets the subject matter on the table for you, and it's kind of hard to misinterpret or to avoid. So in that sense, it is confrontational, just in like what it's calling you to sort of look at, because the words are there, the picture is there, and you have to just take it for what it is. So in that, I think, aspect, it's really helpful. I personally really like the way it's illustrated, and I didn't think I was going to so much. As you can see, this one's like a lot more simple. And of course, I wanted to connect it, say, to like the Two of Pentacles, but yet it's not. And I'm pretty sure there's another card in here that is balance or something to that extent, and I would have expected something like that for this card, but that's not how it works. So you will get, like, if you are somebody who's very much tied to tarot and you want to draw those sort of parallels, it might be a little bit frustrating at first. But I think that this is really great for sort of having a dialogue with yourself, about your environment and your circumstances or interpersonal relationships, things like that. I mean, you can use it like a normal tarot, but I do think that the approach and the messages are almost have like this voice that is other than what I would say tarot is. So in that respect, not that it's limiting, it's just adept in different areas, where, say, tarot might, it might be a leap or a reach for tarot to sort of accomplish what this deck is trying to do, but yet what tarot can do, I don't think that this can do all of that, if that makes sense. So how do I word that to actually sound comprehensible? It does something that is kind of a stretch for tarot, but at the same time, it can do a lot of what tarot does, but I do also think that there are certain areas that this isn't suited for. I'm trying to think of exactly what. Maybe just in, say, traditional predictive reading. I mean, you could actually do it with this, and I don't think it would be bad. It would just not be quite what tarot is for that. So just take that for like how you will, I guess. Just know that it's going to read probably very differently from a tarot deck, or a traditional tarot deck, I should say, like a Rider-Waite or a Thoth or a Marseille deck. And so far, I think I've used this quite a bit, like every day. I think it's great for daily draws, and it kind of has inspired me to come up with a bunch of different spreads to try to understand circumstances and perspectives. I think it's really great for gaining insight and perspective where certain things are concerned, where I might have struggled more so. The keywords, I think, are actually, if you don't like keywords, maybe this isn't for you, but I would say that I'm a fan of keywords when they're done well, in my opinion, or when they work for me. And I think that they're absolutely crucial and a great asset to this deck. I think that there's a lot more than what you might see right on the surface with this, and there's a lot of depth here that takes some time in getting to the bottom of, or to get acquainted with. So don't underestimate it by any stretch. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, if this is something, I haven't seen a lot on this when I was considering the purchase myself, so I guess I wanted to offer my perspective for this deck. But if it's something that you were at all curious or considering, I think it's worth it. I think it's very different. I haven't seen anything like it out there to compare. Here's like an example of maybe something more confronting trauma. I hope this isn't reversed, but I mean, it's reversed because it's like I'm doing this selfie mode on a phone, but I don't think the actual picture will be when it is uploaded. But yeah, if you are somebody who wants to actually, who's just looking for a deck and something that's different, and you are very much, or looking for something that's like self-care oriented or self-care for yourself, or something you're curious about, I recommend it. I think it's a great gateway into maybe just being more conscientious where that's concerned, and maybe deepening your understanding and practice of self-care beyond, say, like what is popularly considered self-care nowadays. It's kind of been like blown out of proportion and given a definition that's not so accurate, and this brings us back to say what self-care really is in its entirety. So I think that this is actually a great asset and something that is very, it stands alone in its approach and what it offers. So would recommend, really like this one. Yeah, that's all I've got to say, I think. This is already getting kind of long, I didn't even realize. But if you liked this and you liked the whole thing of me like doing a review, this is my first one, I'm not very experienced. Offer critique if you need to. If you liked it, let me know. If you'd like to see more of this, let me know. I really don't want to just start reviewing decks that are already really out there for other people, like where there's a lot of reviews. If I think I can offer something new and fresh, then yes. But if I think that there's a lot out there on the deck that's already been said that I would just reiterate, I don't think that that's what I would like to do. So I hope you all are having a nice day. Let me know if this is something that you pick up and what you think about it. If it's one that really doesn't appeal to you, also let me know. I'd be very curious. Until next time.